Today, we're going to be replacing the upper control arm and ball joint in an FD RX-7.
Seriously, I just had it.
I was shooting a video on how to do the ball joint boots and how to replace those if your ball joints were still in good shape. And as I was doing the very last one, of course, I found out that the ball joint had a little bit of play in there, a little bit more than I was comfortable with. So I went ahead and had to break down and actually order the part, which is the whole entire upper A-arm, and we're going to be replacing that today.
Here is the upper ball joint in question, and I'm able to freely wiggle this around, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But what concerns me is if I take this portion of the ball joint and I lift it up and down, you can hear it kind of clicking in there. Being that I'm due to go on a 3,000-mile road trip in 4 days, I decided it would be best to just replace this whole ball joint, which means I need to replace the entire upper control arm. My game plan is to remove these two, loosen these two, loosen the one on the bottom to get it to move a little bit, and then pull out the three mounting ones on the top side, and then I want to pull this whole assembly out with the shock and strut inside of the control arm and just pull that all out all at once. So here's where we are. On the upper side, I've taken off the two strut tower bar nuts, and I've left this one here just to keep the assembly on the upper side and hold it up there. On the bottom side, we've taken off the two 12mm bolts that hold on the wheel speed sensor wire. We've obviously taken out the 14mm keeper bolt for the ball joint, and we've separated that. I've taken off the two 14mm nuts that hold the two A-arm bushings in together. And if you look down below, I've taken the nut off of the lower strut, and the bolt is loose. Take out that bolt there. And if I wiggle this, that should get me separated there, which should give me enough access to the strut in order to kind of pry it loose with a pry bar from the underside. I am hoping. Okay. Next, I've taken out the two upper bolts that go and hold the control arm assembly together. And I should be able to slide that out just like so. Undo the last bolt on the top side in order to drop this assembly down. Okay. And now I should be able to pull this whole assembly down and out and off to the side. Lastly, I'm just going to take my bungee cords and put them up into the hole in order to hold the assembly together while I prep the other parts in order to install them. So I put in an order 2 days ago for the upper control arm and ball joint assembly for the left-hand side for the FD RX-7. I ordered through Amazon. They were pretty quick to get it here and promptly sent this. R for right. So it's the incorrect part. That is, not sure how I'm going to do this or make this work because the parts won't arrive in time before we're due to leave on a road trip here in a couple of days. So, I don't know. I might end up having to steal the control arm bushing off of the blue one and put it on the black one just so we can take it on our road trips. Here's the upper assembly and ball joint from the blue car. You can kind of see this moves around and it's tight. It's a little tougher to move. I cleaned out the grease in there so that you could visually see what's going on. Whenever we compare it to the one from the black car, it just flops around and it's really loose in there. So much so that I can move it like that, which is really bad news bears. I'm glad that I caught this prior to the road trip. I really wish that Amazon would have sent me the correct part so that I wouldn't have to steal parts from one car to do the other. We have our new upper ball joint boot installed. It has been greased. We are good to go.
I'm going to reinstall everything. You just do that in the exact opposite order of the way that you took it apart. So I'm going to spare you all of that. One thing of note is whenever you tighten these down here, you'll want to get it at its set ride height, and that will help to prevent excess bushing wear, especially if you're putting a new upper control arm in. Being that I'm putting a used one in, I'm still going to do that anyway. The way I'm going to do mine, because it's up on jack stands, is I'm going to jack up the wheel until it stops, and then I'll tighten it down and go from there.
One more thing, there are two little metal keepers that actually move on here that will prevent you, they actually squeeze in, kind of like alternator bolts on some makes and models. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the actual bolt and a socket and the nut, and I'm going to put it in there like so, and I'm going to thread it in there nice and deep. Then I'm going to take another 17mm socket and I'm going to butt it up against there and then give it a couple of love taps with the hammer just to spread those apart, just to ease getting the shock assembly back into the bottom control arm.
I just wanted to show you really quick how I took a piece of 2x4, put a couple of lug nuts on, and jacked this up until this was at normal ride height before I tightened these two guys here. That'll prevent premature, bushing, wear, or whatever. So before you tighten those down again, just jack it up to normal ride height and you should be good to go. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you got something out of the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.